What got me back into seriously thinking about writing was going to the civil service. I do remember there was one particular afternoon I was sitting next to a guy who had his files piled up beside him, and he was softly nodding off to sleep. I just looked at the sort of piece of scrap paper I had in front of me and I thought, well, let's have a go at doing something more interesting than this.
I kind of think of another of my books as the first one because I kind of wrote it like almost entirely in my head when I was a teenager, and then finally I went back to it after achieving a few other things and I got it down on paper, but it was kind of fully formed in my head.
But for me, the joy of it is when you got that rough draft. It's almost as good as sex to sit down with that first draft of chapter 9, still working with the pencil, still noticing these flourishes that I would argue can suddenly snap the idea you're after into something that's witty and cogent, insightful, maybe even giving the reader a thought he or she has never had before. That's the goal for me.
The Scribblies was a writers group that a bunch of friends of mine and I were in. We had our first meeting in January of 1980, and none of us were published at the time. By, I think, 2 or 3 years later, all of us had book contracts. I think part of it was that we all had different strengths. Even though none of us were masters of it all, everybody had a strong point, and we complemented each other very well.
I was unemployed for 3.5 years. That's a long time. I wrote 7 novels during that time. They were rejected repeatedly. Finally, after 3.5 years, I get a letter from America saying that manuscript you sent us 2 years ago that we've been sitting on in silence, we want to publish it. It was 73 when I started writing, 88 when I made my first book sale, so it's 15 years to be an overnight success.